Oh, I can now.
Now you can? You can now? You can hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, okay, okay. Pranam, it's good to see you, and thanks for being here. Um,
Gracias por estar aquí.
is there anything you want to share before
¿Hay
we take
algo
the
que quisiera
questions?
compartir?
Oh, can you see me?
Yeah,
Irma dice,
I
¿me
can.
ven?
Okay. Well, it's good to be with you. We
Me
are in
encanta
the
estar
midst
con
of
ustedes.
a rainstorm here, which is good for California because we've been
Estamos en el
suffering
medio de
from a
una
drought
tormenta y
and
acabamos de salir de
a
una
lot of
sequía,
rain
entonces
early.
son
So
buenas
see what happens.
noticias. Mucha lluvia
It's a bit
temprano.
of a
Vamos a ver lo que va a pasar.
concern for me, I would say, worldwide.
Me
It's very
preocupa
apparent to me
a nivel mundial. Me
that
parece
the
evidente
environmental crisis
que la
was
crisis
thought quite truly a crisis,
del
and
medio
it's
ambiente
reaching various tipping points that
está llegando a límites
and that's troublesome, and I'm a little concerned how it will affect humanity, of course, and the devotees in different
y
situations
me
in
está
different places of the
preocupando
world.
y pienso en cómo va a
So
afectar
anyway,
al mundo, a los
a little bit about
devotos
that.
en
Otherwise, I'd like
los
to comment on the
variados
last week I
lugares.
gave a talk and talked about an
Y
internal
si no,
issue of the
quería
Sangha,
hablar
and subsequently I
de
spoke
las
with Padmanabh Maharaj for
relaciones
an
con
hour and
las
a half
en el Sangha. Hablé con
afterwards.
Padmanabh Maharaj una
And
hora y
went very well, I
media
thought, but afterwards, subsequently,
y fue muy
Maharaj
bien, pensé, pero
felt
después Maharaj se
some issues
sintió
weren't
como
dealt with
que
apparently,
algunas
and
cosas no se
instead of
habían
going on
enfrentado.
continuing on his trip as planned,
En
which I
vez de
encouraged him
continuar
to
con su
Latin
viaje,
America, and I think his discontent has been shared with some devotees, and they have some concerns, and so
quiso quedarse en
I love Maharaj,
Latinoamérica
but
y
I don't share the same
yo quiero a
opinion
Maharaj,
that some have
pero no comparto la
arrived at,
misma
and I have good
opinión
reasons for that.
a la
And
cual
I'd just like to say at this
algunos
point,
llegaron,
any of my
y
disciples
quisiera
would like to
decir
really understand my
ahora
perspective
que
on the
todos mis,
issue
quiero que todos
entirely,
mis
and so forth,
discípulos
they can give me a call.
entiendan,
And what they can do is
que
they can
quieren
email me, so they'd like to
entender
call
mi
me,
perspectiva, que me
and then
llamen.
I'll give them my number, and they can call me on WhatsApp, and I'll explain to them
Y
my
luego
perspective
les voy a decir
and
mi
my
perspectiva por WhatsApp
concerns
o lo que
and so
sea,
forth.
lo que me preocupa,
And
etc.
that we share my affection for them
Y
and
así voy a compartir mi cariño para
my
ellos
perspective on the teaching and so forth, which
y
is
mi
paramount.
perspectiva
So
sobre
I'm open to
lo que es
that.
la
I'm happy to talk
enseñanza,
with anyone
que es lo más
and
importante. Estoy abierto
and hear
a
their
hablar con
concerns and
cada quien y oír lo que les preocupa.
anyway, give them the voice. So let's let me leave it at that on that particular issue if we can, and then
Entonces, vamos
take
a
any
dejar
questions.
este asunto y vamos a
Thank you for
empezar con las
sharing that.
preguntas.
Sure.
Okay, so everyone, I just have one question. So if you have a question,
Aradhana solo tiene una
please
pregunta,
message me.
entonces dice que si tienen
So the
preguntas,
one
que
question
escriban
is
mensajes.
from Brigu,
La pregunta que tengo es de
and
Brigu.
he is driving, and so he
y él
wanted me to ask. So
está
he said, so
conduciendo,
Brigupad said, I would like to ask
Él
about
pregunta
differentiating between the Atma and the Jiva. Vrindaranya does that in her
sobre la
articles, but I
diferencia
haven't seen that done before in Gaudiya
entre el alma,
Vaishnavism.
el
Is that a
atma y
new
el jiva.
development? Are there older precedents for
Prenderanya lo
that?
hace en sus artículos, pero nunca lo
You know,
vi
I don't
distinguido de
know
esta
if I can
forma.
cite any older precedent, but I know that
Algunos dicen, no sé
Satyanarayana
si puedo
himself
citar
has made that
precedentes,
distinction.
pero Satyanarayana mismo hizo la misma distinción.
I think it's appropriate also in terms of the language.
También me parece
Jiva means a
apropiado en términos
being.
de lengua.
And a living being can
Jiva quiere
pertain to
decir ser
obviously our
vivo.
biological,
Entonces, ser vivo puede
psychological
referirse
reality.
a nuestra realidad
And
psicofisiológica, empírica, mientras Atma
refers to
se
consciousness
refiere a la
itself,
conciencia en
whereas
sí
the jiva
misma,
can refer to
mientras el Jiva
any being
se
in relative to
refiere
their
a cualquier ser y
conditioned life
relativamente a
and
la
so forth.
condición, a la vida condicionada que tiene.
So I know there's a distinction in that sense.
Entonces hay una distinción en ese sentido.
I guess you could also argue that the word Atma
También se podría decir que la palabra
has
Atma
various meanings.
tiene mucho sentido, muchos
It
significados.
can mean the Paramatma, it can mean the
Puede
individual Atma.
referirse al
Sometimes it could be
Paramatma,
referred
al
to
Atma individual,
as the mind,
la
but
mente,
more typically,
pero típicamente
it refers to consciousness
se refiere a la
proper
conciencia.
itself. And the word jiva unto itself does not. So I think the
Y la
distinction is
palabra
there.
jiva en sí misma no lo
And
hace.
as I say, Babaji
Entonces es
Satyanarayana
una
has made that
distinción
clear distinction himself. I
importante. Y
think she may have
Satyanarayana,
picked that up from his
Das
writing
Babaji hace la
and
misma distinción
footnoted
y
accordingly in her
a lo
thesis.
mejor ella se está refiriendo a eso.
That said, of course, that there is obviously a
También
differentiation between the
hay una
conditioned
diferenciación
Atma and when it's
entre el
unconditioned.
alma
And there are
acondicionado y el que no lo
characteristics
está.
that
Y
are
las
extrinsic
características
relating to its conditioned life and characteristics that are intrinsic, if you will, and relating to
hay
its
características que también
liberated
son
life.
intrínsecas
One of the emphases in Vrindavanya's thesis is
a la
that
vida
liberation can't be
en
achieved without
trascendencia.
bhakti.
Uno de los puntos de los
Therefore,
artículos de Vrindavanaya son que la
there are
liberación no
certain
se
inherent
puede
qualities
lograr sin
of the
bhakti.
jiva
Entonces hay algunas
that pertain to
cualidades
its
del
liberated
jiva
state,
que
then that's a condition in which the jiva has bhakti. So
y esa
those
es una
qualities would be
condición donde
unmanifest
el jiva tiene bhakti.
if
Esas cualidades
if
serán
it was
no
not liberated.
manifiestas si
If it
el
was
jiva no
liberated,
estuviera
well, it
liberado.
would have bhakti, and its intrinsic qualities would be manifest. So it's an interesting argument.
Si está
And I think
liberado
in
y
her
tiene bhakti,
article
sus
on Monday
cualidades
coming
se
out,
van a manifestar.
she starts to get into some
En
really
el próximo
more
artículo que va a
complex
salir,
philosophical
ella
depth
se va a meter
on the issue.
en
The
detalles
articles that she's
filosóficos
published so
más
far are more or
profundos.
less like broader, general, and introductory. So something to look forward there. That's my answer. Now
Y
we have to
esta
search
es
for another
mi
question.
respuesta. Ahora vamos a
I
tener
got
que buscar
some. I got,
otra
so we're
pregunta. Ramona
good.
dice, algunas me llegaron, estamos bien.
Sajan has a
Sajan
question.
tiene una pregunta.
Yes, okay.
Dandavat Maharaj.
Dandavat Maharaj.
You will.
You know, the original question I had
Mi
was in
pregunta
regard
original
to
era en
my
relación
ongoing readings of the Chaitanya
a
Bhagavat, but
mi
just
lectura
very
del Chaitanya
briefly,
Bhagavata, pero muy
in response to
brevemente
what you just
en
shared
relación
about
a lo
the
que acabas de compartir sobre
distinction,
el
if there
Bhakti
be one, between the
y la
Atma and the
distinción entre
Jiva. It
Atma y
was
Jiva, si es
kind
que
of
hay
my
una.
understanding or
Mi
impression,
entendimiento,
which I just wanted
impresión
to kind
que
of
quería
run by you,
compartir
that the Atman
es que el
is
Atma
what's Najayate Mriyate Vakadachin, unborn,
Nayayate
deathless,
es,
pure, ever
no
pure,
es no
ever
nacido, inmortal,
unconditionally pure
siempre
and
puro e
uncontaminated
incondicionado e
by
incontaminado
the three modes of
por
nature.
los tres gunas.
Whereas, by contrast,
Mientras
a jiva, the
una
connotation
jiva, la connotación
feels like it's the expression, the partial, temporary, dreamlike expression
es la
of the
expresión
spirit of the Atman,
casi
like that,
onírica del
which is
espíritu,
very
del
much
Atma,
affected and influenced by the three components of
que
nature,
está
etc. Does that
mucho
kind of
bajo la
resonate with you as
influencia de
well?
las tres gunas. ¿Te parece
Yeah, well, the
correcto?
Atma expresses
Y
itself
además
in
dice,
its
sí, el
conditioned
Atma se
life.
expresa
We
en la
think
vida
that
condicionada.
its actual contents are, in a sense, pursued by itself, but in the wrong place. It's often described like
Entonces,
that.
lo que
Looking for
hace
bliss, looking for
el jiva
security,
es un atma que
or being,
busca,
looking for
que está
for
buscando en el
knowledge,
lugar equivocado,
and
conocimiento
it
y
resides within itself,
felicidad.
Which is a particle of Bhagavan.
Es una
In
partícula de
whom
Bhagavan.
Satchidananda is fully manifest.
Sachidananda no está
So in that sense,
plenamente
yes.
manifiesto, pero sí, en ese sentido sí.
All right, thank you.
Bueno,
So the
gracias.
original question I
Entonces, mi
had
pregunta
in my
original sobre
ongoing
Chaitanya
studies
Bhagavata,
of the Chaitanya Bhagavat is that at this point, I mean,
a este punto, en este
Sri
punto,
Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Mahashai is
Vrindavandas Thakur
kind of presenting that like
está presentando
the Muslim police chief upon being,
el jefe de la
questioned
policía
by the king, the
musulmana,
Muslim king,
cuando el rey
is saying
musulmán
things like, "Oh yes, I have seen the wandering sannyasi mendicant Chaitanya, and his
dice,
teeth
sí,
are
vi
pearly white and
a ese
so
Chaitanya
effulgent,
mendigo,
like a
sus
thousand
dientes
moons." And this
son
type of thing is coming out of the
resplandecientes
mouth of
como
the
1000
Muslim police
lunas.
chief and the
Y ese es
king,
el jefe de la
who,
policía y el
in
rey,
Vrindavan Das Thakur's
que
own
en
words,
las palabras
is
de
the
Vrindavan
very
Das Thakur
same one
es el
who
mismo
destroyed and desecrated
que
many temples
destruyó y desacró
in the
muchos
province of
templos
Orissa. He's
en la provincia de
responding to
Orissa.
the police. "Oh, you should not think that he is an
Él,
ordinary mendicant. He is the
él contesta,
supreme
no deberías pensar
personality
que es
of
un
Godhead."
mendigo
Things of this
ordinario,
nature
él
are
es la
coming out of
suprema
Vrindavan
persona,
Das Thakur is having
persona
coming out of the
suprema.
mouths of those who have destroyed and desecrated, the temples of the in Orissa. And so I'm just kind of, I want
Entonces,
to get your input about that, because in addition to
interesaría
that, I mean,
su comentario
he has like
porque
Sarvabhauma
además
Bhattacharya speaking about
Sarvabhauma
the glories of
Bhattacharya
devotional
habla
service
de
from
las
the
glorias
very
del
get-go,
servicio
rather
devocional
than there being
desde
a
el principio,
conversion
y no
from
parece haber una
impersonalism to
conversión
devotion, as
hacia
of
la
course, as we know,
devoción,
is presented in Chaitanya
así como se
Charitamrita.
presentó
So
en el Chaitanya
it's
Charitamrita.
starting to feel now that,
Entonces, ahora,
I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know how
no
much
sé,
credibility,
no
his
sé
presentation
cuánta
of
credibilidad
Mahaprabhu's,
tiene la
biography
presentación, la
carries or
biografía
holds or
de Mahaprabhu
should
hecha
be
por Vrindavan Das
perceived by
Thakur.
us
Well,
as its readers. So like that.
yeah, well, first of all,
Maharaj
there
dice,
are any number of
primeramente,
Muslim kings. I'm not
hay
sure
un
the
montón
particular king
de
in
reyes
that section
musulmanes
was responsible for
y no estoy seguro que
pillaging
este
and so
rey en
forth. There are all
particular,
kinds of kings and sub-kings
son
and
todos
so on and
reyes y
so forth. I have to
subreyes
look
y
that up.
todos islámicos.
It's not
Debería
clear to me.
buscar esto
And
por
that
empezar.
said, let's assume that he
En
wasn't
segundo
one of
lugar,
them. There's many examples
hay muchos
of
ejemplos
Muslims
de
at the
musulmanes
time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and
que a la
thereafter,
época de Chaitanya
Muslim
Mahaprabhu y
leaders
después
and thinkers, artisans, and so forth, converting to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or staying in their Muslim faith, or showing great
había
respect for Chaitanya
muchos
Mahaprabhu,
líderes,
the teachings of Chaitanya
artesanos
Mahaprabhu
que se
about
convertían a
Krishna
la fe
Lila
de
and so
Chaitanya
forth.
Mahaprabhu.
There's some very famous Muslim poets who wrote a beautiful
Hay un
glorification
poeta
of Chaitanya
musulmán
Mahaprabhu.
que
That
escribió una
history is
glorificación de
there.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, muy bonita.
So he did have an effect,
Entonces,
on the Muslim population that I would say overall was positive. Haridas Thakur, of course, is the prominent example that's brought out,
Haridas
but
Thakur,
there are
por
many other
ejemplo, es un
examples
ejemplo
on the periphery, if you will. That
que
said,
todo el mundo sabe, pero
these
también había más
type of
en la
texts
periferia.
academically are called hagiographies, and they
Las geografías
they have a certain purpose, if you will, behind them when they're written,
tienen un cierto propósito
and which they seek to
a la hora de escribirse, que
assert
es el de
through the biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore they'll
hacer que
adjust different details about his life on
a
one hand,
través de la
or
vida o
on the
biografía de
other
Chaitanya
hand,
Mahaprabhu,
they may
ellos
be,
van ajustando
the
unos
communications
detalles
and systems of
por un
reporting
lado,
incidents
o
and
por
so
otro
forth are not what
lado,
they are today. So
se
they may
puede
have
decir
had
que
different
la manera
information
de
about
registrar
events and exactly how they took
hechos
place and so on and so
históricos
forth.
no
You
es la
have to give
misma de
some
hoy,
room,
entonces
to that.
puede que se haya podido
You take the
distorcer,
position of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, well, we seem to be taking that as more
distorsionar.
definitive, and you could make an argument for that in that he had the different biographies at his disposal with the
Por ejemplo,
different,
por en
slightly
el Chaitanya
divergent
Charitamrita,
historical,
Kaviraj Goswami ya tenía las
perspectives
varias
and so forth,
biografías
and he put
a
them
su
all together. Of course,
alcance
his
y las
main source of
recopiló
information
como
about Chaitanya Lila was Raghunath Das
su
Goswami
fuente
and Swarup
principal.
Damodar. Now they were in Puri, but Raghunath Das Goswami, of course, was
Son Raghunath Das Goswami y
well, Swarup Damodar also, but I think
Swarup
more
Damodar.
Raghunath Das Goswami,
Raghunath
privy
Das
to
Goswami
the ongoings in Navadvip itself, from where
estaba
he,
más al corriente de lo que
where
ocurrió
he
en
spent,
Navadvip,
time even beyond Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking sannyas, and
porque él se
later
quedó
joined him in
en
Jagannath
Navadvip
Puri. So
aún después que
he,
Mahaprabhu
this
tomara
was
sannyasi,
the
luego
resource, the
se
principal
unió a él en
resource
Puri.
of
Entonces la
Krishnadas
fuente
Kaviraj
principal es
Goswami and
de Kaviraj
Gopinacharan
Goswami
Kamiti,
son Raghunath Das Goswami y Swarup
he
Damodara
states that
en Puri.
Raghunath Das Goswami is his guru. So you can make a case, therefore, that
Entonces uno podría
historically
decir
speaking, if you will,
que hablando
the events are more
históricamente,
accurately depicted by
los
Krishnadas
hechos
Kaviraj
están
Goswami, but I
descritos.
wouldn't fault those who,
Kaviraj
with
Goswami lo
other information,
describió de
wrote
forma mejor,
accordingly.
pero yo no
That's
le
the one side.
echaría
Back to the other side.
la
Well,
culpa a otras
details
descripciones.
being what they
Ese
may,
es por un
they're
lado.
not as
Por otro lado,
important.
los detalles, siendo que son
I don't think
detalles, no son
historically in
tan
Indian
importantes.
thinking as it is
Históricamente, en el
in modern
pensamiento de
thinking,
la
in Western
India,
thinking overall. In fact, uh, uh, in so many of the quote historical texts, as they were thought to be the
en
Puranas
todos
in the
los
past,
textos históricos,
take
así como
obviously
se
took
les
different
llamaba a
positions
los
on issues
Puranas, etc., se
and so
tomaban,
forth,
se
and they
tomaban
seek to
muchas
capture kind
posiciones
of
sobre
something
los
else.
varios
There's a
asuntos de
whole
la realidad.
worldview here. It's
Hay
different
toda
than the
una
worldview of
visión del
modern
mundo,
society, and they seek to
según los
bring us,
Puranas, que es
into that
diferente de lo que
worldview
piensa
and the
la
feeling of
sociedad,
it. And,
digamos,
and
corriente.
their sense is that God
Entonces,
appeared in this way, and we want to
los
convey the
Puranas
feeling
nos
of it.
dicen, Dios
And that's what's
apareció en
important.
esta forma y
And
nosotros
let the
queremos
details, be adjusted
transmitir
if need be
el
in order to
sentimiento.
make
Los
the point.
detalles no son tan
And
importantes.
we might do that to some extent as well,
Y
even in our
nosotros
own times. We
también
might tell a story and
podemos
adjust the
hacerlo,
detail in
¿no? Es
it
probable.
to
Decimos una
overemphasize, as
historia
may need be,
y le
a
ponemos énfasis
particular
en un
point
detalle u
that
otro
is
según lo que
inherent in
necesitemos.
the story that we're telling, but isn't brought out in its
Son
great
detalles que son
detail
inherentes en la historia que estamos diciendo, pero
as it need
no,
be
no
to stress the
surgieron en
point.
un
So we may do
momento y
that to
luego
some
van a
extent
surgir en
as
otro.
well. That's how I look at the text and the
Así es
various
como veo yo estos varios
uh,
textos y
differences
diferencias entre
on
ellos,
historical facts and so forth.
etc.
Hope that helped.
All right. Oh, yes, very much. Thank you,
Bueno,
Maharaj.
gracias.
Good, good. So another question?
¿Otra pregunta?
Yeah, Kanuram has a
Sí,
question.
Kanurama tiene una
Okay.
pregunta.
Good morning, Guru Maharaj.
Buenos
Good
días,
morning.
Guru Maharaj.
So my question is a little more general, but it's about chanting the holy name
Mi
as a
pregunta es más
service.
genérica,
Uh-huh.
So I
pero
think
es
that
sobre cantar los santos nombres como
this is about the way
servicio.
I think about chanting
La
the
manera
holy
en que
name, and
yo
I think that when
pienso
I
en
think
cantar
of
los
it,
santos
it's something
nombres
that I do for my
es algo, cuando
edification
pienso que
and
es algo que hago
purification.
para mi purificación,
But I heard recently that it's something that I should think of as being a service. So
o
can
sea,
you
yo lo hago
explain a
como
little
algo
bit
para mi
about how chanting
purificación,
the
pero
holy name
recién
is a
oí que
service and
es
how I
algo que
should
yo debería
think
hacer
about
como
it like that?
servicio.
Well, I think that
Gurmas
it's an
dice,
interesting question.
es una
It's been
pregunta interesante de
aired
por sí,
before by others, if I recall
que
correctly.
otros también me
But I think
preguntaron,
that the way
si no
I
me
think
equivoco.
about that
La manera que lo veo yo
is that kirtan,
es que el kirtan,
kirtanam means to glorify,
kirtan quiere decir
to give
glorificar,
praise, to of someone, of God.
glorificar
That's
a
what
alguien,
kirtan means, to
especialmente a
praise him.
Dios.
So if you love someone,
Si uno ama a
or you
alguien
want to express
o quiere
love and affinity,
expresar su
affection for
amor
someone,
y
then you
cariño
speak
para
about their
alguien,
virtues,
entonces
right?
hablamos de sus
Their
virtudes,
qualities,
las
what they've
cualidades,
done,
lo que hicieron,
and so on and so forth. And that
etc.
glorification of
Y
them
esa glorificación de
is,
ellos,
in the context that we're talking about it,
en el
a service,
contexto que
because the
estamos
service, what
discutiendo,
bhakti is
es un servicio
really
porque
a
lo que bhakti es,
glorification of
lo que
Krishna
es el bhakti es una glorificación de Krishna.
With regard to
En
the
general,
names in particular,
con respecto a los nombres en
well, we have
particular,
a sense, philosophical
tenemos un
sense, that
sentido
all
filosófico
of the qualities of Krishna are in
que
his name,
todas las
all
cualidades
of
de
the,
Krishna se encuentran en su
form
nombre.
of Krishna is in his name, the
Todas
leelas
las
are in
formas
his
de
name.
Krishna se
So it's a
encuentran en
condensed
su
way,
nombre,
if you will,
todos los
of
lilas. Entonces
glorifying,
es una forma
speaking about the
condensada
virtues, the
de
qualities, the leelas,
glorificarlo,
broadcasting them,
glorificarlo
just
hablando de sus
outpouring
cualidades,
them.
sus
If you love
lilas,
someone, you
etc.
may sing about them in the shower, or you may hear songs on the radio. I don't know if people listen to the radio anymore, but somewhere on the computer, and then you interpret them in the ways that
Si
relate to your
escuchamos
own
una canción
situation, and you
bajo la
make
ducha
something out of the song that
en la
maybe
computadora,
the
la
author didn't think
interpretamos de
was
manera
there,
que,
but
que
it
es
is,
relevante
because you're finding it there, and it's about your
a la
friend or
persona que
your
amamos nosotros, que sea
beloved,
nuestro amigo, nuestro
and so on
amado,
and so
amada,
forth. So I think that
etc.
we should look at the kirtan and
Entonces
chanting of the
deberíamos
names like
ver
that.
al
It's a condensed
kirtan, el
way,
canto de los
if you
santos
will,
nombres,
and
como una forma
recommended way, given the
condensada
power
y
of the name
recomendada
and the virtue
y
of the name,
empoderada,
the magnanimity of the name, that it comes to us
donde la
even if we've offended the form and the
magnanimidad del
person.
nombre y las virtudes del
And by
nombre,
chanting it, well,
del
we
nombre
are engaged in,
de la
this is
persona
the
se encuentra
spirit
en
of
el nombre.
expressing our affinity for, our affection for, or our longing to be, united with who we understand, that which we understand to be our source. So it's kind of like, an outpouring
Es
of love.
como,
When you say service, it kind of gets, how is it a service to sing about somebody that you love?
o sea,
Well,
¿cómo
then
va a
we have to
ser
look at what
amor?
service is.
¿Cómo va a ser servicio?
What does service mean?
Cantar sobre la persona que
What does
amamos.
it mean?
Bueno, hay que
In Goloka Vrindavan, it could mean
hay que
wrestling Krishna to the ground.
pensar lo que
All
es
that is
servicio.
service,
Por ejemplo,
right?
en Goloka
It
Vrindavan,
doesn't look like
luchar
service,
con Krishna y
but
ganarle es
when
servicio,
Radharani
aunque no
doesn't let him into
parezca.
the
Cuando
bower, into the
Radharani
grove,
no deja que Krishna
it
entre
looks like she, or
en
when
esa
Mother
parte
Yasoda
del bosque donde
chastises
está
him
ella
and
con los
binds him
gopis, parece
in
que
the
lo
Prakat
está
Lila, it doesn't look like service,
regañando y
but it
esto
is.
tampoco
It's
parece
an expression
servicio,
of love, because that's an
pero
extreme
no es una
form.
expresión de amor,
And so singing the names
aunque
of
muy,
someone
muy
that
extrema.
we love is,
Entonces,
would
cantar
be
los nombres de la
putting their
persona
name,
amada,
in the song that we
poner su
hear.
nombre en una
Something like that
canción,
is
es
the way I
algo,
look at it.
algo
So
así.
I think you need to expand the notion of service, what service
Tienes
amounts
que
to.
expander la noción de servicio.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Sí,
I'll
gracias,
try and
Guru.
change my angle of vision on it.
Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai.
Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai.
What else?
¿Qué más?
Sorry, Sharada sent me something. She
Sharada me
said a
envió
comment.
algo.
So
Es un
maybe, do you
comentario.
want to make a comment, Sharada, or is this the comment? Maybe this is the comment. She says, so
dice,
maybe chanting
entonces
can
el canto
be
puede ser
Smarnam as
Smarana
well,
también.
pranams.
Yes, well, that's a good point, actually.
Sí, este es un punto muy bueno en
And
realidad.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Shikshastakam,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
Nam
dice en el
Namakari
Shikshastakam,
Bahudaha, Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatarpita Niyamita Smaranena
Nam
Tama.
Nama.
He's speaking about the virtues
Él está
of
hablando,
chanting the holy name. And he says that
perdón,
the names
de las
have
virtudes del
all the
santo nombre
Shaktis of Bhagavan.
y
Within
de
them.
los Shaktis
He's
de
referring
Bhagavan.
to primary names.
Hay
Say,
nombres,
of
dice
God,
que hay nombres
that speak about
primarios
him in relation to his devotees,
que
for the
hablan de
Swarup
Krishna en
Shakti
relación a sus devotos.
is fully operative, if you will, or manifest. So these powerful names, he says, are not only
Y estos nombres
inherently
poderosos, dice, no son
powerful
solamente,
spiritually beyond comparison.
son inherentemente,
The implication being
espiritualmente,
invoking of them,
más allá de
chanting
la
of them,
comprensión de uno,
given that they contain all the power of God within them
ya que
themselves,
contienen todos los poderes de
there's
Dios
no
en
other
sí.
spiritual practice or sadhana
No hay
that
otra
have the
práctica
same,
o sadhana
same power.
que pueda tener el mismo poder.
There's a statement
Se dice
from some Purana, I forget, it's very famous.
en
Hare
algún
Nam,
Purana, no
Hare
me
Nam,
acuerdo,
Hare Nam Eva Kevalam.
Hare Nam, Hare
Kalo
Nam, Hare
Anasteva,
Nam,
Anasteva,
Eva
Anasteva,
Kevalam, Kalau
Hare
Nasteva,
Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, no other way, no other way, no other way.
No hay otra manera,
And
no hay otra
sometimes in
manera,
no other
no hay
way,
otra
no other
manera.
way, no other way, it's explained not by karma, not by
A
jnana, not by
veces no hay
yoga.
otra manera. 3 veces se
I've
explica
also heard
como
it
que no
explained
no
not
es a
by
través de yoga, no es a través de karma, no es a través de
that not by the method of
jnana.
Sati Yuga, not by the method of Treta Yuga, not by the method of Dwapara Yuga.
O también no con el método de Treta Yuga o de
Which
Satya
whatever the
Yuga o de
Yuga Dharma
Dwapara
is
Yuga.
for those
Por eso se
yugas,
dice Nastya 3 veces.
but only in Kali Yuga now,
Sino
is the
solo
verse
en Kali Yuga,
by Nam Sankirtan.
a través del
And
Nama Sankirtan.
along with that, the explanation, interesting explanation, that even in Sati Yuga, even in Treta Yuga,
Y
and even in Dwapara
inclusive
Yuga,
en
we
Satya
can
Yuga,
find
Treta
examples
Yuga
in
y
the
Dwapara
Bhagavatam
Yuga se
of
encuentran ejemplos
persons,
en el Bhagavatam
devotees being
de
liberated
gente, de
by
devotos
chanting.
que quedaron
Whereas
liberados
the
a través
method
del su
of the
canto.
age in Dwapara Yuga or
Mientras
Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga will not be
Cuando
efficacious
el
in
método
Kali
para
Yuga,
la liberación en Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga y Dwapara Yuga no son
along with
métodos
the
en Kali
efficacious
Yuga,
process in the particular Yuga, Satya, Treta, or Dwapara, Harinam is also efficacious if
mientras
someone should
Harinama es
take the
eficaz en
Harinam. So
cualquier
another way of
yuga. Es
explaining
suficiente
the
tomar el
virtues
Harinama en
of
cualquier
Nam
yuga.
Sankirtan, which we could go on and on about. In the verse, and relative to Sharda's point, Mahaprabhu says these names are
Mahaprabhu
infinitely
dice
powerful, if you
que
will.
estos
There are
nombres
many of them,
son
and there's
infinitamente
no time,
poderosos y hay
place, or
muchísimos,
circumstances
y
that
no
are
hay
required for
lugar,
doing smaranam
tiempo o
of them. He
circunstancia
says, smaranena kala. So,
donde no se pueda hacer smara de
when we
estos
do
nombres.
kirtan,
Cuando
we
hacemos
sing the names
kirtan
out loud. When we do
y cantamos los
japa,
nombres en voz alta,
that
cuando hacemos
is thought
japa,
to be where typically the name is chanted either silently or
donde el nombre se
or
canta de
whispering.
forma
One can hear it
silenciosa
oneself, but others can't.
o en un
That is
susurro,
considered to be
en
an
voz
anga
baja.
or limb
Esto se
of
considera un anga
of smaranam.
de smarana.
If we chant out loud
Si
in our
cantamos en
japa,
voz alta,
as Chaitanya
en
Mahaprabhu was
nuestro
described
japa,
as doing on
así
his
como
way
se
from
dice que
Jagannath Puri,
Mahaprabhu hacía
or from
de camino a
Navadvipa
Jagannath Puri,
by
Navadvipa Jagannath Puri,
Rupa Goswami,
Rupa Goswami lo describe
Chaitanyastakam,
así
I think it is.
en el
He had some
Chaitanyashtakam.
rope with
Dice que él
beads,
tenía
and
una
he would
cuerda con
chant on them,
nudos
singing aloud. So
y él
that
cantaba
kind
en
of
voz alta y eso
japa,
se
if you will,
considera,
is
este japa se considera más
a
como kirtan.
limb of kirtan. But the other two, chanting silently on beads or chanting
Pero cuando se
to
canta
oneself,
japa en la
whispering,
mente
those,
o
that
en
is
voz
considered to be
baja,
an anga of smaranam.
se considera smarana.
And the great Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur
El
has
grande Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati
written a
Thakur
poem, Vaishnav K,
escribió
who
una
is a
poesía,
Vaishnav,
Vaishnav K,
and
quien es un
in that
Vaishnav.
poem he makes a very
Y en
powerful
esa
statement.
poesía,
He says,
él dice
Kirtana
que
Prabhave
Kirtana
Smarana
Prabhave,
Swabhave. That by
Smarana
the power
Swabhave,
and the force, the spiritual power of Kirtan,
por el poder de Kirtan, a través del poder de Kirtan,
on one's nature that will arise out of the Kirtan,
Smarana, que va a
will
surgir
come
de
about
este tipo de
automatically.
Kirtan,
In other words,
va a ser
Kirtan
espontáneo.
will bring one
El Kirtan
more readily
nos
than any
va
other
a
process
llevar
into
mucho más
Smarana. While it's
fácilmente y
external,
rápidamente a Smarana.
speaking out loud, chanting the name out loud, it will bring us internally. And then internally,
Luego
in meditation,
internamente en meditación,
that it's taught by Rupa Goswami that
Rupa
internal
Goswami nos
meditation,
enseña que
as
la
it comes
meditación
about,
interna
that should be nourished or strengthened
debería
by ongoing
alimentarse
kirtan.
todo el
Kirtan
día
will
con el
continue to
Kirtan.
nourish
El
that.
Kirtan
And
va a
in the highest
continuar
sense, within the meditation, we'll experience the
en el
lila.
sentido más
Now
elevado.
we're in
Dentro de la
Smarana, deeply
meditación
in
vamos a
Smarana.
tener la
What do we find?
experiencia
We
del
find
lila.
kirtan going
Ahora
on in the
estamos
lila,
mucho adentro
inside our
muy
meditation.
adentro del Smaranam y que
And
vamos a
they're
encontrar
chanting,
Kirtan, las gopis, los gopas
and they're
hacen
meditating.
Kirtan.
So yeah, they're very much complementary, if you will. Shravanam,
Entonces
Kirtan, and Smaranam, these three
se
go together.
completan uno
Here's the
al
ear.
otro.
In here, if you can see me, here is the tongue, and in between is the mind. So it's going to
El
get
Kirtan
captured.
se hace
if
con
you
los,
will.
con los oídos y
So,
con la lengua y
yeah,
en el
so-
medio se encuentra
so-
la mente.
Chanting the name can also
Entonces,
be
cantar
a
los
limb
nombres puede ser
of Smarana. And it's interesting
un
that
miembro
Mahaprabhu
de
has used that
Smaranam,
word
una
in
expresión
his
de
second verse
Smarana.
of Shikshastakam.
Y es
because
interesante que
typically
Mahaprabhu use esa palabra en su
Smaranam
verso del
has certain
Shikshastakam, porque
regulations
Smarana
that
normalmente
are
sigue
things that should be in place.
ciertas
For
reglas,
example,
cosas que
the
deberían
dhyan or Smaranam,
estar.
as it's described
Por
in the
ejemplo,
Bhagavad
el
Gita in the
dhyana,
sixth chapter,
descrito así como
sit in a
lo
quiet place
describe
by
el
oneself,
Bhagavad
not too
Gita,
high,
dice que
not too
uno tiene que
low,
estar
so on
sentado
and so forth.
ni demasiado arriba ni demasiado abajo y
Certain directions to
en
face
solitud,
and whatnot.
mirando hacia
These
una
type
cierta
of
dirección, etc.
criterion are often
Todos estos criterios.
invoked, and also a requisite or prerequisite or
También un
requirement of
requisito
having the heart sufficiently purified
es
so
el
that
de
one's
tener un
desires are
corazón
not
puro.
going to take one in the mind, elsewhere. So to say that kirtan
Entonces,
can
decir
be a
que
form of
el
smarna,
kirtan puede ser una
and it has
forma
no
de
rules or
smarna y
regulations.
que no
It's a very
tienen
big statement by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
reglas,
The virtues of the
es
name, I
una
should say.
frase
The
muy
name is such that there are no
impactante de
rules and
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
regulations, and you can do the
Que el verso
smarnam of
dice
the
que no hay
name
reglas y que uno puede hacer el
without
smarana
in any time, any place, any
de los santos
circumstance.
nombres
So it's a
en
strong statement of Mahaprabhu. Of course, he goes on to say,
cualquier
but unfortunately, we don't. Despite all this, the efficacy, its power, its
circunstancia.
generosity, and so forth, we're not attracted to it. And he says the reason is because of anarthas, other things have got in
Y
the way.
lamentablemente no
And
tenemos
this we have to look at and
atracción
see,
y esto es
in
debido a
all
los
of it,
anartas que
what we
hay que
do in our practice and as
quitar del
members of a
corazón.
particular sangha and so forth. Where are we in terms of taste for holy
Esto es
name?
algo que
Where
tenemos
are
que
we in
ver
terms
cada
of
vez
letting go
en nuestra
of
práctica,
anarthas?
dónde
This
estamos
has to be the
en
ultimate
términos de purificación de
evaluation of
los
the health
anartas.
of the individual and the sangha. And there's so much room to focus on ourself and our requirement that, and the more that we're able to do that, the more that there will be harmonious and happy dwellings. There's no doubt about that. So, good point to focus on. Now,
Entonces,
I hope
es
that
una
helps.
buena
Are there any other
cosa en
questions?
que enfocarse. Espero que te ayudó y que hay otras
There
preguntas.
is another
Sí, hay
question,
otra pregunta
not on
de
this topic. Do you want to wait for a follow-up question? Doesn't look like there are any so far.
We'll take the next question.
Okay, so the next question is from Gayatri.
Gayatri pregunta.
Her mic's not working well, so she wanted me
Su
to read it.
micrófono no
So she
funciona
said,
bien.
Dandavat
Dice,
Pranams Guru
Dandavat
Maharaj.
Pranams Guru Maharaj.
As you have been made aware, I am currently staying in Krishna House in Gainesville. I am repeatedly asked who my
Como te
spiritual
habrán
master
dicho,
is, which I gladly share.
estoy en Gainesville,
Some
en
devotees
Florida,
have
en
made an
ISKCON, y
effort
todo
to
el mundo me
ask further
pregunta quién
what
es mi
your
guru.
opinion is about a disciple of yours taking part in outreach and teachings of ISKCON.
Y
The
muchos
way I've
devotos me
understood it,
están
you had
preguntando
the
cuál es
desire
tu
to have an open
posición
relationship with ISKCON when you left. Can you please share
sobre
your thoughts on this matter? How would
uno
you
de tus
like us in
discípulos
our
predicando
Sangha
en ISKCON.
to interact with and
Y
think about ISKCON?
quisiera saber qué puede decir
Yes,
sobre
thank you for
tus
the question.
interacciones con ISKCON, con la ISKCON. Guru Maharaj dice gracias.
My thought, and I voiced
Mi
this before, at the
idea, y lo
time of
expresé antes,
leaving ISKCON had an opinion,
a la hora de
leadership,
dejar al ISKCON,
that
la ISKCON
the
tenía un liderazgo
instructions, the siksha, the advice of Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj
según el
would
cual
conflict with the managerial
las instrucciones, la shiksha de Sridhar Maharaj
perspective
estaría
of
en
ISKCON
conflicto
leaders.
con la perspectiva de los
And
líderes de la
the ISKCON
ISKCON.
leaders had a sense of how ISKCON should be managed and
Y
organized
los
and so
líderes de
forth.
ISKCON tenían un
And they were
sentido de cómo
deputed
debería
to
manejarse,
oversee that, and that Sridhar Maharaj's input could be come into conflict with
entonces
that.
veían
And that was a polite way of saying
los comentarios de
that
Sridhar Maharaj como
therefore
a causa de
anyone who
conflicto,
wants to
que
take
era su
siksha
forma
from Sridhar Maharaj
educada de
should
decir
be
que
outside of the
todo que
society.
quiera tomar
So
shiksha de
they
Sridhar
were
Maharaj debería irse.
in pursuit of what they felt was the pure way to follow
Eso
Prabhupada. They were ready to
es lo que
sacrifice
hicieron
whomever.
pensando que estaban siguiendo a Srila
And I
Prabhupada
was
de
a
la
very
forma más
prominent member of
estricta.
ISKCON. They were
Yo
tried
era
to
un
let me
miembro
go
del ISKCON
because of their convictions
bastante
of what was
conocido e
right and
importante,
what
pero me
Prabhupada
dejaron
wanted.
ir
Now,
debido
I
a
of
su
course disagreed with that.
convicción de lo que
And
pensaban que era
what I
la
thought should
voluntad
have
de
happened
Prabhupada.
was
Y
that
yo
I
les
thought that
escribí muchas
ISKCON
veces y
leadership
les
should have said,
dije
okay,
que
well, Tripurari
lo que
and
el ISKCON
others
debería
have
haber hecho
a different
es
opinion,
pensar que
and
Tripurari Maharaj tiene una opinión
and
diferente
there's room for different opinions.
y hay campo
They're going to
para
be separate,
diferentes
and
opiniones, van a estar separados,
they're going to still do the same practices.
van a hacer las mismas
And Prabhupada himself
prácticas
has said you can be
que
separate from
Prabhupada.
ISKCON,
Prabhupada dijo que
but
uno
not from the
puede
practices.
vivir
Can
separado
be
del
of different
ISKCON,
opinions.
pero
So, okay,
sino no de la
there's precedent
práctica.
for that.
Entonces hay un precedente
And
para
here they
esto.
are, these
Entonces
devotees
aquí
with
está
different
Tripurari
opinion.
Maharaj con
Let us
esos
have a
devotos con
cordial
diferentes
relationship
opiniones. Vamos a
between the
tener
two of us and go
relaciones
on down and
cordiales
see,
entre los
what
dos.
time tells, if you will.
Vamos a ver lo que nos va a decir
But
el
it didn't,
tiempo, el
it
pasar del
wasn't like
tiempo.
that. It became much more
Pero no se dio así.
um,
Se convirtió en algo mucho más
acrimonious, and there was a lot of vilification of Sridhar Maharaj
feo y se dio
by the leaders,
muchas
unfortunately. And I was not
ofensas a Sridhar Maharaj.
I didn't sit passively, so I reacted too.
Y yo no
But
me
there's
quedé
been a lot of
sentado de
time
forma
since
pasiva,
then.
yo
That
también
was like
reaccioné,
1985.
pero estamos hablando de
It's what is it,
1985,
like 40 years later or something
en
like
más que
that now,
40 años
almost.
después.
And
Bueno,
and
casi 40 años
that
después.
said, Sridhar Maharaj did not want us to disturb ISKCON.
Y Sridhar
He
Maharaj
felt
no
that it's
quería
very
que
difficult to mass a
estorbáramos
big organization like
a la
this,
ISKCON
and all
porque
for the
es
purpose
difícil
of broadcasting Chaitanya
manejar una
Mahaprabhu's
asociación tan
teachings,
grande como esa
and
y
so on.
el propósito de ellos es de
And
divulgar las
so,
enseñanzas de Mahaprabhu.
after all this time and whatnot,
Entonces, después de todo este
I,
tiempo,
if anybody wants to be a member of
si
ISKCON,
alguien
I'm
quiere
not going
ser
to tell
un
them not to
miembro
be. I wouldn't tell
de la
them
ISKCON,
not to be. I
yo no
wouldn't
le diría que no lo
dissuade them if
hiciera,
that was their faith
no los
and interest.
convencería.
And I think that there are many good things that ISKCON is
Yo
doing.
creo que en la ISKCON hay muchas
And,
cosas buenas que se están haciendo,
and beyond what I can do
más
as a
allá de lo
small
que yo
person.
puedo hacer, como soy una
And
persona muy pequeña.
at the same time, I'm content with what I'm
Al
doing.
mismo tiempo estoy
And,
contento de lo que estoy haciendo
and I'm
en
better
lo
off,
mío,
for it
y
personally.
estoy
And I think a
mucho
lot of people in
mejor
ISKCON think
por
I'm
hacer
pretty
mis
well
cosas
off as well,
separadas.
spiritually speaking.
Hablando
So,
espiritualmente,
the fact that you, my student, are there and want to
el
go
hecho
there, I have
que
no
tú, mi
objection, as you know.
estudiante, estás
And,
allí y quieres vivir en Gainesville, en
and
Florida,
I hope
yo no
that,
tengo oposición.
that
Y espero
they will
que
honor
van
your
a honrar
commitment to me and so forth, connection with me.
tu
And I
conexión
think that you'll
conmigo.
find that mostly
Y quiero que vas a
amongst
encontrar
ISKCON
que,
devotees
por lo más,
nowadays.
entre los devotos de la ISKCON hoy
There may
día,
be a policy at the top,
puede que haya una
the leadership,
política en
that
los vértices,
that
en el liderazgo,
is a little different. I don't think it's something that
que es
they're
diferente,
preoccupied with at this time
ni siquiera
anymore as they
algo
were in the
que
past.
debería
So I think there was a time when I first
interesarte,
began
pero entre
initiating
los
disciples,
devotos
1985, 1986,
había
something
un
like that,
tiempo en los
where if
80
my
cuando yo
disciples met
iniciaba
some ISKCON devotees on the street,
unos
they
discípulos,
would
había
just
un tiempo
open
que
up and vilify me, upside down
cuando
and backwards,
algunos discípulos míos,
as
algunos
deviant,
devotos de la ISKCON encontraban
rejecting Prabhupada
a
and
mis
so forth.
discípulos
Well,
por
it's
la
just not like
calle,
that anymore.
los ofendían en voz alta,
And,
pero ahora ya no es así.
And that's good. And I think,
Gracias a
like I say,
Dios.
most devotees
La
will
mayoría de
be
los
sensible
devotos
enough to judge a person, another
tienen
devotee, by their
bastante
character, their
inteligencia
their
como para
characteristic,
juzgar
their
a una
qualities,
persona
and so on and so
de,
forth. And if they hear, oh, she's got a
por
guru
su
outside of
carácter y
ISKCON, can't be that
comportamiento.
bad. Look at her,
O sea,
So
tiene un
it's incumbent
gurú
upon
fuera
me to
del
be a
ISKCON,
good
pero
disciple.
no debe ser tan malo.
And,
Mira cómo se porta bien.
and I think
Mira
that
qué
will
buen
help
devoto,
them
qué buena
appreciate
devota es.
my
Entonces así
perspective.
van a aumentar su
to-
apreciación de mi
And
perspectiva.
basically, the difference is that I accepted Sridhar
La
Maharaj as my Siksha
diferencia
Guru, and that
es
was
que
not
yo
allowed in
acepté
ISKCON.
a Sridhar
Was
Maharaj como
encouraged by
Shiksha Guru, lo que
Prabhupada,
no se permitía en la ISKCON.
That's clear. That
Pero yo
he
lo
told
hice
us
porque me lo
anybody that
dijo
wanted
Prabhupada, nos lo
philosophical
dijo a todo
advice
el
after
mundo,
departure could go to
que
Sridhar
para la
Maharaj. So
filosofía fuéramos a
GBC
escuchar de
disagreed
Sridhar
later
Maharaj.
on. So we have an argument about that or a disagreement about that. But I've been enriched by it. I've been benefited by it. Many people in
Es una
ISKCON read my
asociación que me
books and are nourished by them,
enriqueció. Yo escribí muchos
including leaders,
libros
even
y
gurus in
muchos
ISKCON
devotos
write
de la
me
ISKCON,
and,
incluidos los líderes,
thank me for
sacaron mucho
books that I've written
beneficio
and so forth. So
y me agradecieron por los libros que escribí.
I think the reality on the ground
Entonces,
is,
la realidad
these days it's very different. I mean, you can be a father and a mother and have a daughter who
es
disciples of
diferente.
Prabhupada, father and mother, and they have a daughter who's initiated by Narayan Maharaj, who
Hoy
now
día
has a
puede
daughter who's
haber
initiated by me, So, what do you do?
dos devotos
What's
discípulos
on
de
the
Prabhupada
ground,
que
what's
tienen una
happening,
hija que está
maybe
iniciada
different
por
than
Narayana Maharaj, que tiene
some
una hija que a lo
policy
mejor
that
está
was
iniciada por mí.
put in place, 40 years ago that
Estas son cosas que
hasn't been
empezaron
revisited
hace
and-
40 años, que se
and it probably won't be.
revisitaron.
So, does that help?
¿Está bien?
Yes. Okay. Good. Good. So be a good student there.
Bueno,
I'm sure there's
entonces,
plenty that you can learn. They have
pórtate
a
bien
good
allá.
system there of training devotees in certain
Tienen
ways
un devoto muy,
that
un sistema muy bueno ahí
exceed
en
my
Florida.
ability to do so.
Es un sistema que
regarding so many things.
es mucho mejor
I
del
think
que
we
tengo
have a
yo
good
porque somos
edge on
una misión muy
well, we
pequeñita.
have our contribution.
Pero nosotros también contribuimos de nuestra
Okay. What
forma.
else?
¿Qué más?
I see here there's a comment.
Veo aquí que hay un comentario de
your presence, Ananta Govinda says, in San Francisco Rath Yatra was greatly missed. We pray to see you there. He's a member of ISKCON.
Ananta Govinda de ISKCON
Thank
dice,
you for that. I
se
appreciate
sintió
it.
mucho tu falta en el
I'm not
Ratayatra
going
de
to
San
many places
Francisco.
these days. I'm a little more
Gurumar dice gracias, pero
cloistered.
no voy
And
a ningún lugar estos
but
tiempos
yeah, I
me
had some
estoy
good times going to
convirtiendo
the Rath
en
Yatras
una
there in
eremita,
San Francisco.
pero sí me
these,
divertí mucho en el
in previous
Ratayatra de
years.
San Francisco en los años pasados.
What else? Any other question?
Also Gayatri wrote something in the chat above Ananta Govinda. You see that?
I have met a family of senior devotees who were very excited about you being my Guru Maharaj because they are very fond of you and send their love, although I cannot remember the names now, unfortunately. Yeah, they write to me too. That's very nice.
Alguien
Yeah,
dijo
there's,
que yo conozco
recently,
muchos devotos
I
de la
was
ISKCON
thinking,
que
I have
tienen
there's
mucha
a disciple
apreciación
of
para ti.
my godbrother, Bhakti Govardhana Shinga
Gurumar
Maharaj, who
dice,
passed away a few years ago.
mi
His name is
hermano
Bhakti
espiritual Bhakti
Sri
Govardhana
Rup
Singha
Madhav
Maharaj
Maharaj, and we're very close.
tenía un discípulo que se
And,
llama Bhakti Swarup
he,
Madhav Maharaj y
he was
estamos
arrested in
muy,
Nepal on a false charge and
somos muy
spent
amigos
5 years in jail. And I
y
supported him
lo
throughout his
encarcelaron en Nepal
jail time
debido a
and
una
so forth,
falsa
and communicated
acusación.
with him as much as possible, sending
Mientras
books and
estaba en
so
la
forth.
prisión estuvo
And he's been
comunicando
released
conmigo
now.
y
The
ahora
case is still pending, but
salió de la
and
cárcel
he's in Vrindavan, so he's been in
y
touch with
está en
me
Brindavan y
regularly.
estuvo en contacto conmigo
He's
regularmente.
a nephew of Barbra Streisand. He's a
Él
singer.
es el sobrino de Barbara Streisand
Very nice boy. He joined when he was 17.
y se juntó
And
al
his father was a
movimiento
devotee, but he was against him
cuando
joining
tenía
and becoming Nrsimha
17
Maharaj's
años.
disciple. We have a
Su
long
padre
history.
también es un
It's very
devoto, pero estaba
funny
en
in many
contra
respects and
de
very
Nrsimha
challenging in
Maharaj.
certain times. It's very beautiful. So he's in contact with me, and
Entonces está en contacto conmigo
he is
y él
at the same time a godbrother of my Damodar Maharaj who has a place at Govardhan
al mismo
contacted me.
tiempo un hermano espiritual mío,
And,
Damodar Maharaj, que tiene un lugar
was able
en
to-
Govardhan,
He had written an article
había
about
escrito un artículo
Prabhupada
sobre
for an
Prabhupada
academic journal
para
in
un
which
periódico
he
académico donde él
was emphasizing
estaba subrayando
the Brahma Vimohan Leela,
como el Brahma
which
Vimohana
it's
Lila,
asserted, that Krishna is the supreme personality of
donde se
God,
dice
and
que
through
Krishna
the
es la suprema
Leela,
personalidad de Dios a través del Lila.
And the Prabhupada left it during the Brahma Vimohan Leela. That's what he was translating. Those
Y
things,
ese es
he
el
put those
lila
things
donde
together
Prabhupada
and
nos dejó esta
said that he
traducción
went
de este
out,
lila.
left the world.
Entonces, Damodar Maharaj dice
Further
que cuando
giving
Prabhupada
microphone
dejó el
to,
mundo,
megaphone to his principal teaching, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, something like that. And he asked my opinion about it, and he shared it with me. And
bueno,
I
ese
appreciated
era el
it.
tema
And I
del
sent him
artículo y Damodar
something that I
Maharaj
had written
me
also on the
mandó
Brahma Vimohan Leela,
su
a little bit from
artículo
my
y yo
forthcoming
le
book, which he
mandé
very much
algo que
liked.
escribí yo
And so
y le gustó mucho.
he said, "Oh, we need books like this."
Entonces me dijo,
It
sí,
was
tenemos
a little
libros
bit
como
too
este.
flattering for my liking, but he was
Y
sincere in
me
it.
halagó de forma un
And,
poquito excesiva para mis
And
gustos,
so we
pero
got to talking a
sin
little bit,
embargo me
and he
halagó
mentioned
mucho
he had a place in Govardhan.
y quedamos
So
hablando y me
I-
dijo que tenía un lugar en
I,
Govardhan.
I had the idea, you should have a place in Govardhan of all
Y yo
places, because it's a
tenía
little more
la
removed
idea
from
que
Vrindavan,
deberíamos
which has
tener un
become so
lugar en
busy
Govardhan
and
porque Brindavan
so forth. In my
ahora está
early
tan
days in Vrindavan, it
caótico.
was just,
En mis
very,
días en
very,
Brindavan
very rural, and you'd never
era
see a
muy
car there at
rural,
all, and
nunca
so
se
forth.
veían
I missed
carros
that. So
y
I had been thinking at
echo de
times
menos
that
esa
having a
esa
place at
atmósfera.
Govardhan.
Entonces
And because
muchas
he
veces
has
pensé
one,
en Govardhan y como
we got to
Maharaj
talking
tiene un
about it.
lugar en
And he
Govardhan,
told me it was like that,
quedamos pensando
compared to Vrindavan.
y él me dijo que
And other
ese
concern
lugar
was,
es
well, you
como
get further out
Brindavan
in
los
Vrindavan,
70.
it's not always a safe place. You get robbed and so forth. He
Y
said it was
Brindavan ahora
safe, and
no,
there were
no es
other
muy
devotees he
seguro porque
mentioned.
te pueden robar.
Satchidananda Swami,
Y él dijo,
another
no,
one,
Govardhan es
Burijan
más
Das,
seguro, se
Bhagavad
encuentra
Subramanian.
Satchidananda
They had
Swami,
places
Burijan Das.
out and around
Muchos
Govardhan.
devotos tienen
Then I looked a little
lugares
bit at
en
the geography, and
Govardhan.
I saw Govardhan is like central to Vrindavan,
Luego vi que
to
geográficamente
Varsana,
Govardhan
places
está en el
around
centro
here,
entre
Nandagram.
Brindavan,
That
Varsana,
piqued my
Nandagram
interest a
y
little
me
bit
quedé más y
more.
más interesado.
And so I told Madhav Maharaj that
Entonces
I
le
could meet
dije a
with
Madhav
Damodar Maharaj
Maharaj
out there in
que se
September.
encontrara con
I mean, I don't have
Damodar
any funds or
Maharaj,
anything to do that, but it's
que nos
something
encontráramos los tres en
thought about.
septiembre. No
And,
tengo dinero, pero lo
I bring it
pensé.
up because
Me lo
when I
pensé
was
y
talking with
se lo
Damodar
estoy
Maharaj, and he was
diciendo
mentioning
porque
these other
cuando
devotees, they
estaba
had
hablando
places
con
out there.
Damodar
He
Maharaj,
said they were, largely non-sectarian. Damodar Maharaj
me
himself is
dijo
not
que
inside
ellos
ISKCON,
no
but he's on
son
the much more on the
muy
fringe of it, if you will, than I am.
sectaristas
And he
y
keeps
él
close
mismo está
contact
fuera
with
de la ISKCON.
many devotees who are the more open-minded
Y tiene
leaders
contactos con
of ISKCON. So
devotos
I
y
started thinking,
líderes
yeah,
que son de
maybe I could
mente
interact
muy
with some of them
abierta.
out
Entonces
there
pensé,
in
yo podría
non-sectarian space.
interactuar con
They have
muchos
some
de esos.
plots, some acreage, and they do retreats and so
Tienen
forth.
tierras,
And
se
I
pueden
found the
hacer
Govardhan retreat
retiros.
on YouTube that they did.
Imagínense,
I listened to it. This different
retiros en
speaker
Govardhan.
and so forth. So I had this like, well, yeah, maybe I could,
Entonces
um,
pensé, a lo mejor yo también
interact with them
podría
in
interactuar
ways
con
that
ellos
I haven't for years.
en
So
formas en que
yeah,
no he podido
uh,
durante años.
who knows what'll happen? Right?
¿Quién sabe lo que va a pasar?
Especially, the God brothers, God sisters of Prabhupada, a dear God
Especialmente
sister of
los
mine, her
hermanos y
son was
hermanas
very dear to me
espirituales de
also.
Prabhupada. Hay una en particular
Jagadatri and
que
her
es
son
muy
Raghunath,
querida,
who was one of the original older boys in the group who joined.
y su
They
hijo.
joined the Los Angeles Temple. She joined New Dwarka, was called,
Ellos se
with her
juntaron
son,
en
who was like
Nueva
8 years
Dwarka
old, a bit of a
cuando
terror.
su hijo
They lived in the
tenía
Brahmacharya ashram
8 años y él
with
estaba
us,
en el ashram
and
de los
I
brahmacharis
always
con nosotros.
was very affectionate to him. Prabhupada was as
Y yo
well.
siempre le tenía
Over
mucho
the
cariño,
years,
y Prabhupada también durante los años.
as he grew up, we had maintained a very affectionate relationship. And his mother was a book distributor. These are the early days.
En relaciones muy
Los
cariñosas.
Angeles
Y
book
su madre
distribution.
era una
So she
distribuidora
always
de libros
had a strong feeling for me. So he just
y
notified
siempre
me the other
tenía
day that she was
sentimientos
passing
para
away.
mí. Y él me escribió el otro día que ella
Departed, if
falleció.
you will. So, we're all. I could depart at any time. We had
Y
a
yo
cow here,
también
Danu, our original
podría
Jersey
morir
cow.
en cualquier momento.
One night she just passed out from stroke, and Matt found her like that. So I could pass away at any time.
Tenemos
73 years old.
una
I'm
vaca,
in good
Demu,
health
que se
overall, I
murió
would
así
say. But
de
anyway,
repente. Y yo tengo
God brothers,
73
God
años,
sisters,
también
mine.
me
You get
puedo morir
older.
en
You get older,
cualquier
and
momento.
you think a little differently. Younger, you're a little more militant
Conforme uno
about things, even
envejece,
about the philosophy,
va
perhaps.
pensando de forma
You get older, you
diferente.
get a little more open, and
Cuando uno envejece,
I'm experiencing that too.
se queda más abierto
So,
mentalmente, ya
anyway,
no
Gayatri, I'm
quiere
happy that you're there.
darle
Happy that you
guerra a
met
todo el
some nice
mundo por
devotees
cosas filosóficas.
who appreciate your connection with me. You're doing a good service for me by being there. And setting an
Entonces,
example.
estás haciendo un buen servicio viviendo en Florida
Okay, someone
y
has written here, Gayatri
representándome.
said, Mahabhagavad was one of the senior Madhajis that sends her love. Oh yeah, well, I got a long history with her. Her face was most radiant when she spoke about you, Guru Maharaj, and it made me feel full of love. Yeah,
Y
I
alguien
was very
escribió que
kind to her,
Mahabhava en
and
Florida
she's a very good soul
se le
mother
iluminó la
herself as
cara
well.
cuando escuchó el nombre de
In
Tripurari
Seattle years
Maharaj.
ago.
Y sí, la
Very,
conozco
very
y
nice that she's there and she's active.
me alegro
Very, very
que
pleased to
esté
hear
en
that.
ese templo y que esté activa. Me alegro mucho oír que está
So,
bien.
what else? Any other questions?
¿Qué más? ¿Algo
I
más?
don't have any other
No tengo más preguntas.
Maybe someone will send one or
A lo mejor alguien va a enviar una.
yeah.
Okay. Well, again,
Bueno,
reiterate what I said at the beginning. If anyone needs to contact me about
voy a
anything,
repetir lo
feels
que dije en el principio. Si
disturbed
alguien quiere
about
ponerse en
some of the things that went
contacto
on earlier,
conmigo porque está
continuing some
estorbado
people's
sobre
minds and hearts,
algunas
please feel free to
cosas
contact me directly.
que ocurrieron
And
antes, pueden ponerse en contacto conmigo
I have a
directamente.
question, Guru Maharaj.
on the court. Oh, philosophical question. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's the two, broadly speaking, the two types of yoga. There's the chitta vritti nirodha yoga
Parece la
of
voz de
Patanjali,
Chittahari,
and
no
then
se
of course
entiende.
there's the yoga of action that Krishna
Sí,
espouses in the Gita.
dice que
So
en Gita,
I was kind of Edwin Bryant, Advaita Das made the point, really nice point that I thought.
Advaita Das
He
dijo,
said something like, when I sit to do japa at 5 a.m., it's chitta vritti nirodha, and 9 to
cuando me
5, it's
siento
yoga
para
Gita,
hacer
which is
mi
very
japa a las
practical
5 de la
and nice
mañana,
encapsulation.
es,
So I
es que
was thinking, like,
no escuché las definiciones sánscritas
when
porque
we're chanting japa,
no se oye muy bien,
in
pero dice,
Patanjali's yoga,
cuando cantamos japa por la mañana,
he says samadhi is the means of purifying the chitta, stilling the mind. And so
el samadhi
thinking,
es
well,
la
how much,
purificación del chitta
when we're
de nuestra
chanting the
mente.
name, the name is said to
Entonces
be
me
efficacious in and of
pregunto,
itself, but then how
cuando
much
cantamos
of
el
that efficacy
nombre,
is
el
coming
nombre
from
se
the
dice que es
samadhi
eficaz
aspect,
de por sí,
or the
Pero
In
me
other words,
pregunto, ¿cuánto del
we see
nombre?
devotees chanting for years and years, and
Por
maybe if
ejemplo,
they never
vemos,
entered into samadhi
vemos
proper,
devotos
chanting
que
the name,
cantan
then they're not
durante
really
años
getting
y
the
años y nunca
purification that they
alcanzan
would
el
otherwise.
samadhi.
Does that make any sense?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that the
Como
samadhi
dice, entiendo lo que
is
dices, pero no
uh,
pienso que el samadhi
is uh, in and of itself the
de
only
por
thing
sí
that removes
es la única cosa
samskaras.
que
Sadhana
quita los
removes
samskaras.
samskaras,
El
and
sadhana
the
también.
combination of that
Y la
removal of
combinación
samskaras and the clearing of the chitta, if
de
you will,
esta
results
purificación
in
del
samadhi.
chitta
Mhm.
y de los, de los samskaras que
Which
se van, resulta en el samadhi.
So I don't think you can disregard the cleansing
Entonces,
of the
no
heart
se
that reaches the
puede
point where the heart is cleansed.
desechar
Everyone has the capacity to
la
experience
limpieza del
samadhi,
corazón
which obviously is only going to further cement one, if you will, in a spiritual
como
understanding
si solo ocurriera a la hora del
spiritual
samadhi.
experiential life and
Es-
orientation to it. So, I mean, of course, Krishna also speaks in the
Krishna
Gita about
también
Dhyana
dice en el
Yoga.
Gita
So
sobre
the
Dhyana
sixth
Yoga.
chapter is basically
En el
about what
capítulo 6
Patanjali
es
is
todo
talking
sobre
about. The
el
only
yoga de
difference there is
Patanjali.
Patanjali emphasizes the
Patanjali
Ishvara. Krishna
le
comes
pone
out
más
and says, I'm the
énfasis en el
Ishvara
Ishwar
of the
y
yoga.
Krishna dice, soy yo el
Very
Ishwar del
clearly, he's
yoga,
instructing Arjuna.
mientras
identifies
instruye a
himself as
Arjuna.
such. But otherwise, prior to that,
Pero antes
he's talking about Nishkam Karma,
estaba
so
hablando
the
del Nishkama
active
Karma,
life in which
de una vida activa
is very user friendly because we're active by nature.
que es muy fácil porque
We have a certain momentum from the past of moving in the world in relation to sense objects. So how to continue
por
doing
naturaleza
that,
tenemos una
but in a way
actitud
that will
hacia
serve
los
as a
sentidos
yoga
y
that will
sus
cleanse
objetos.
our heart
Entonces,
and free us from
este
attachments.
método
So by doing it
hace
dutifully,
sí
as we
que
typically
empleemos
refer to
nuestros apegos en servicio, en
the setting of the
yoga,
Gita, the duties of the Varnashram
los
person,
deberes
right?
de la persona que
We
hace
do the
Varnashram.
duties, but not with the idea, which is karma,
Son
but not with the
deberes que hace,
idea
pero no
that
con
by
la
doing
idea
them,
que es
they're going to
karma, que
improve their
haciendo
life, or by
esto
not doing them, their life will be
a mejorar su
inhibited,
vida y que no
in terms of
haciendo
being
estas
improved,
cosas
knowing
se
that
van a
what they're
quedar inhibidos,
beyond that is the Atma and
sino que tienen un
spiritual life
sentido de
and
que
so
se
forth. And
encuentra
in the
un atma
context
más
of
allá y una
Nishkam
vida
Karma,
espiritual, y
you
todo en el
add to
contexto de
that not
Nishkama
only
Karma.
not being attached to the fruits, but offering the fruits, whatever
Es no solo no estar
results, come,
apegado a
money, or
los
whatever,
frutos, sino
to
ofrecer
Krishna.
los frutos
Then
a
it
Krishna.
becomes,
Y luego se convierte
beginning of bhakti, if you will.
en el principio
So
del bhakti.
Krishna has emphasized Nishkam Karma
Entonces
Yoga.
Krishna subraya el Nishkama Karma
Because one of
Yoga.
the reasons, because
Y una de las
there's a lot of,
razones es que
it's easy to hear the philosophy,
es
think I'll
fácil
just be
oír
sannyasi,
la
that sounds
filosofía
great.
y pensar, bueno, voy a hacerme
So I'll
sannyasi,
just take sannyas and I'll
voy a
just
tomar
meditate,
sannyas y voy a
And
meditar.
then you find out it's not so easy, but you've
Luego
already
nos
done
damos
that.
cuenta
Then
que
you
no
got,
es
then you
tan
have to
fácil.
imitate and pretend that you're something you're not. And
Y
then,
luego tenemos que
it shows up,
imitar
it's
y
problematic,
fingir que
and
somos
so
una
forth.
persona
So
que no somos.
he militates against the mityachara suuchate, So he says, so his strong emphasis on Nishkam Karma is
Entonces este
very
énfasis muy
practical.
fuerte
But
sobre
having
Nishkama
passed through
Karma
that and purified
es
the
muy
heart, then he does speak
práctico.
about dhyan. So, in our practice, well, we have sometimes sit and do the dhyan of our mantra, the Maha Mantra, or of our Diksha Mantra, and so forth. And that's our time in meditation where we can evaluate how we've
En
conducted ourselves
nuestra
in the day.
meditación podemos
if you will.
evaluar cómo me porté durante el día.
And then that, if it's done well, then
Y luego si se hizo
meditation,
bien,
not, that will affect the day going
la
forward. And so it's kind of
meditación
back and
nos va a
forth.
afectar los días que siguen.
And to connect the two. Hope that helps.
Espero que te contestó.
So would you say that the primary driver then of being able to enter into samadhi is how we conduct ourselves in the bulk of our lives?
Dirías que
Well, I think that's a good
Ay,
part
no
of
se
it.
escucha bien, lo siento.
There's some, to the extent that you're able to then
Guru Maharaj dice que en la
sit down
medida que,
and-
que
and
somos
actually
capaces de
meditate.
sentarnos y meditar
that your mind is focused on.
y que nuestra
that
mente
which
está
is-
enfocada en
For,
lo
for me,
que
it was always like I
para
would
mí, por
have
ejemplo,
responsibilities within
yo
ISKCON
tenía
to do, like book
responsabilidades al
distribution,
interno de la
for
ISKCON, como
example,
la distribución de
and
libros,
do that, and then whenever I got a chance to
y
not do
siempre que
that
tenía una
and worship the deity, do kirtan, japa, for me that was like the joy. I mean, there was
La
a lot of
chance de
book
hacer algo
distribution too
diferente como
that
Kirtan
came by
Japa
getting
para mí
absorbed in
era,
it, but
era fuente
it was hard
de dicha,
to do.
porque
Or
distribuir los
other
libros
tasks,
me
you know,
costaba
whatever,
mucho.
driving a car or this, that, or
U
the other
otras
thing, you know.
cosas como
For me, it
conducir
was
un
always,
carro.
when I get a chance to sit and chant now, you
Para
know.
mí era, me
So,
sentía siempre como,
uh,
¿cuándo voy a poder sentarme para cantar?
we should conduct ourselves such that that's the way we
Entonces
feel.
deberíamos
But it has to be real,
comportarnos
and it
así.
can't be just an excuse. I don't want to
Pero
do
tiene
this
que
or that.
ser
I just
algo
want,
real,
if
no
you have a
que
real
es una
service
excusa para
attitude,
no
then
hacer servicios.
you'll like the chanting, and ultimately you'll embrace the service as well, whatever it is. There was a stage also where I just did things that I didn't like to do
También había un estadio donde hacía cosas que
because
no
it
me
was a
gustaba
service,
hacer,
and I should like
pero
it
las hacía porque era un
as a service to
servicio,
Krishna.
debería gustarme porque es
I
un
did that
servicio a
for
Krishna.
quite a while also.
Yo hice esto también durante mucho
But
tiempo.
yeah, I think to enter into samadhi is easier said than done, and
Pero entrar al
it is
samadhi
our objective,
es más
but it's
fácil
more of
decirlo que
more
hacerlo.
of a goal. Mhm. I think that there's a dhyan that constitutes features of
Existe un dhyana que constituye
practice, and there's dhyan that constitutes aspects of perfection.
algo de práctica y un dhyana que
Samadhi,
pertenece más a
nirvana
aspectos,
smriti,
a los
I think people
aspectos dentro de la
some use the
perfección.
term. Those are things that you can't imitate. You can
Y
think
estas
about
son
Krishna.
cosas que no
You
se
can
pueden
try to fix
imitar.
the
Uno
mind
puede
on Krishna.
pensar
You
en
can try to
Krishna, puede
take your
tratar de
mind
fijar su
off
mente
of
en
things that are
Krishna
not related to Krishna.
y sacar
And so forth,
la mente
pratyahara,
de lugares donde que no conducen a la
and so
devoción.
forth as part of sadhana, but
Y esto es
you
parte
can't
del
just sit down and do
sadhana.
samadhi.
Pero uno no puede sentarse
When
y
you sit down
hacer
and do samadhi,
samadhi
well, that's not so easy.
de repente. O
You have
sea,
to do
el
things that will cleanse the
samadhi
heart to enable it to happen.
viene cuando se desarrolla.
All right, so
¿Está bien?
that does bring us to the end of the session.
Bueno, ahora
Nice
sí
to meet with
llegamos
all of you, and
a la final. Me alegra haber estado con ustedes.
next week as well.
Y creo que voy a estar
Hare Krishna.
disponible el
Thank
próximo
you.
domingo también. Hare Krishna.
Gaur
Pramananda.
Haribo,
Haribo.
Hi.
Haribo, haribo.
Jai.
Okay.